What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Old Car Channel. As you saw in the last episode, we got the car running and driving, brakes all operational, and took it for its first drive in 27 years. In this episode, we're going to be tearing the whole front suspension apart, tearing the brakes apart, fixing some other issues, cleaning everything, and doing it right, doing it proper. You guys have been bugging me for quite a while of wanting to have clean sheet metal in terms of paint when I install new parts. So I've gone ahead and listen to you guys a little bit. So stay tuned, and I hope you guys enjoy.
I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. They want anything, you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon. I got eyes in the back of my head.
Those rubbers.
Take me for granted and you
Gone.
know I'm leaving. I'ma take this time with the wedge I'm leaving.
In case you're wondering, yes, the battery shut off is off.
Extra. Don't believe in fate, don't believe in ceilings. I just need a taste and my mind starts peeling. I don't pace myself, I grind on kneeling. Got lust for change, I just love.
Alright, so fresh day in the shop. We got the coil spring, which I considered the coil spring of death, and you'll see in a second why. Got the shock out, and we're going to start stripping the spindle from the upper control arm now. The reason being is because we've taken our measurements, as you can see behind me, of basically where we want the car to be sitting. So at ride height, that's where the wheel wants to be, or that's where we want the wheel to be. And we took our measurements for our new suspension that's going to be, I guess, custom made, which you'll see in a future episode. But now we're going to strip the upper control arm. We're going to take the spindle off. Still got a few ideas brewing in my head for suspension. But other than that, we're going to take that all off, start sandblasting, cleaning things up, and I'll show you that spring of death here shortly. All right, so this is the spring of death. Basically, when we had it compressed in order to get it out of the car, from this spring all the way up to like this spring, it was completely tight, like no gaps at all. So we heated the springs up to lower the car. So basically it loses its spring tension and does exactly what you see here. Those are garbage. Winding it up was super scary inside the car. But we got her out and took the wheel off. I might start cleaning some of this stuff off. Try to remove as much as I can and maybe just spray it with some like bed liner. But yeah. Let's get to work. All right, so just use the ball joint separator 2000. Basically, this just sits in between the upper and the lower control arm nuts. Essentially spread this to the point where it's super tight. Then you literally just lightly tap the spindle and one will eventually pop out. Do the same thing and pop the other side out. A good little method. It's just literally threaded rod and a sleeve in the middle, so that's it. Alright. Oh, a little baby spindle. That articulates a lot nicer than I was expecting. Alright, so started cleaning up the shock tower assemblies. You can actually see some of the original paint. Cleaned off the lower trough, which is actually an incredibly stupid design, but something that is not incredibly stupid. You can take the upper control arm off from up in the engine bay. That is something a Mustang owner can only dream of. Look at that. Also not the smartest design. There's no drain holes or anything for water that gets caught in there. Every time it rains and drives, water is going to sit in there, and there is literally no drain hole.
1 hour later.
Alright, so got the upper control arm and spindle painted. Had to throw this back on to take a few more measurements, but as you can see, we've gone ahead and cleaned all the inner shock tower assembly and sprayed it with bed liner material.
Prepping it for Barrett Jackson.
Yeah, Barrett Jackson quality here, folks. But I ordered a 1 1/8 Adco sway bar. They're the only company that seems to make sway bars for 64 Fairlanes, so that's cool. But other than that, drop the lower control arm and strut rod assembly, clean those up, paint them as well. All right, so now that we got that whole shock tower inner assembly painted, all the suspensions painted, I'm gonna hop over to this side. Already started cleaning, as you can see there. Hop over to this side and pull the suspension apart. So we already got the shock out, and it is quite something. Yeah, I don't think it's supposed to be doing that, guys. Just no bushing, completely gone. And that was literally how I pulled it out. There was no bushing, even any remnants sitting in the shock tower. Just toast. Let's undo her. Yeah, just a little bent. Alright, we have completely gone off the deep end here, and we are cleaning it because, you know, you guys in your comments about putting new stuff on old dirty cars, I think it's slowly getting to me. Cleaning up this engine bay.
You shouldn't let them get to you, Mike.
It's just...
Keep it dirty. Faster.
Slowly but surely, they're getting to me. So yeah, we cleaned up this inner shock tower, and we've literally taken all the suspension off, so all the lower control arm, the strut rod, which mounts right to here. And as you can see, the only way we were able to get this off is to take off the bracket that mounts to the actual, truck car, because this bolt here, right here, is C-solid to the inner sleeve that basically rides or is sleeved inside those rubber bushings. So we're going to press that out on the hydraulic press, along with these two right here that are splined into the strut rod assembly. And then I was like, you know, I might as well, while we're here. I think this is your guys' fault, to be completely honest. Might as well take that bracket off and clean it up while we're in here. And I lost that battle. As you can see, snap bolt. So we're gonna have to have some fun with the torch and get that off somehow. Maybe I'll weld a nut on there and try to back it off. But the other three are also solid, so I'm sure those will break too. Thanks, guys. Okay, here we are. Passenger side's all off now, and we're going one step further.
Oh my god, now what?
Started draining the coolant because...
Why?
I'm gonna be taking this whole strut rod assembly off. We're taking off
I thought this car was from Georgia.
Yeah, that side is. This side's apparently Canadian.
What's with all the holes?
So we're going to be taking off this strut rod assembly in order to repair all of this. Because it's not just this, it's also the rad support. And if I was just to patch this onto another piece of rusty material, in the back of my mind, yeah, I would know it's there and it's not done right. So we're going to be taking this all off, which is going to reveal some frame rust. So we're going to be patching the frame.
Oh my god, is it ever cold down here?
Yeah, it's like minus 25 Canadian, which is like, what's that in American? I don't know. It's cold. We're going to be replacing basically from this line across. Yeah, I mean, that side's solid. Thank the Lord for that. Also snapped the two bolts for the sway bar, so we're going to have to extract those. Loads and loads of fun, right, Bazzelli?
Yeah, one thing after another. I wish Jacob was here.
Hear that, Jacob?
I keep telling him how negative I am all the time. Did I tell you how freaking cold it is up here?
Yeah. So, Dad loves Jacob's positivity. If you haven't followed Jacob, go check out his channel. I'll link. I'll put a little in the bottom here. Super great guy, really down to earth and always positive. Jacob Davis, Sally Speed Shop. All right, so we're working on the patch panel here on the 64 Fairlane, and I get asked a lot about which spot weld drill bit I prefer. Now, we have 3 spot weld drill bits, if this will focus. There we go. Snap-on unit, Harbor Freight, Princess Auto job. And then we have this one. This is how I like it. So if you're looking to not spend a lot of money, these definitely work. There are some downsides to them. Tend to eat themselves on the backside. And then when that happens, you don't get as much teeth engagement when you're trying to drill into the metal. Nonetheless, they do work, just not as well. We have this guy here, which is really nice drill bit. Basically, let's see the centering. Stop it. God dang it. There we go. You'll see the centering piece right there. And basically it just acts like a drill bit, so you gotta watch because it will drill through the material. This one I like the best. However, these bits tend to break pretty easy, so you do have to buy some bits. Basically, if it catches and it tries to bind with the drill bit, it will snap these little tips here. So I mean, they all have good and bad sides to them. They all have centering points, so you will have to center punch so that they stay centered with the spot weld, but nonetheless, I probably like this one the best, so that's what I use. All right, there's just some days where you've had enough rust falling in your eyes and you just gotta go with the face shield because the safety squints they just weren't cutting it. So I'm gonna flip you around, show you what we're doing on the front, radiator support and strut rod assembly.
All right, so I don't know if you guys can see that, but there's a line there, and basically we're gonna remove this whole section that goes all the way basically to the frame rail. And then I'm gonna take the strut rod assembly off. Then we're probably gonna have to patch the frame rail. I'll probably just patch this whole section up to the radiator support there. It's gonna be a lot of work, but you know what? You gotta do it, and you gotta do it right. Looking forward to it. Get some welding and fabrication on the 64 Fairlane, because it's been a while since I've had the chance to weld anything on a car. So we just started cutting. And here we are with the strut rod assembly. And you can just see how crusty all of that is.
Freaking insulation inside the frame?
Yeah, a little mousey made a nest in there.
Freaking mice, what the?
So
Can't you find a better place to live?
So we're gonna have to patch this up or make a whole new one. Probably patch it, because I don't know if we're gonna be able to make a whole new one. I probably could, just take a while. But that's, what are you doing? Get the vacuum out, man.
I don't think you're gonna suck that out. Oh my lord, they stuffed it in there.
Yeah, the hole on the top's a little easier to get to.
How did they get in here?
Through the side hole right here.
Oh, the bastards.
Here you can see the frame rail, where we have to patch. Radiator support there. And the patch panel that I made, I still got to put a little piece in there to cover up my miscut. And then I have a bottom piece, which is sitting right here. And that's for the bottom of the radiator support. To take care of all this disaster.
All this bend?
Yep, it goes all the way there. So I'll smash that flat, clean it up. How bad is that?
That's pretty bad. Look at it flaking.
Bad? Oh boy.
Mila Foglia, if you guys like Italian pastries.
Oh boy.
That's 1,000 flakes. So are these stabilizer?
Those are stabilizer bolts.
Oh.
Or sorry, they were stabilizer bolts.
All coming out. You can leave this little piece right here.
Yeah, I'll leave that there. It's nice and solid because it wasn't soaking in water.
Yep. Straight across here, down.
Yep.
Around the bend.
Yep. So we're getting there, one piece at a time. The old girl will have her strut rod assembly back on shortly.
Alright, we got ignition.
Which one are you starting with?
The back corner on my side.
This one?
Yeah, yes.
Let me know when.
A little shot?
Yes or no?
Yeah. Leave it in, leave it in. Next one down. Here, little. Okay.
You be able to get to that? Can you see it?
Yeah. Little. Okay. Everyone needs a torch, people. And patience.
Martello?
And patience.
Yeah. And a welder.
Yeah, I got you.
It's already loose.
It is?
Yep.
Beauty. I'm surprised that that broke on the clean side, eh?
I think it broke because it was welded to the bracket, not the stud in the nut.
Somebody welded it?
No, like it was welded solid with the rust.
Really?
In between the bracket. Because when I was loosening all of them, you could see like heavy rust dust coming out from the bracket and the bolt. Alright, so with the Fairlane all tore apart to do some rust repair, I also moved the bumper out so we can get better access for this frame rail, or I guess radiator support repair that we did there. Not sure if you could see that, but all the way across. Now that's just a rough grind, it's not finished yet. But we're also working on the rest of the radiator support, and then also touching upon the frame rail that you see there. Last but not least, we have the strut rod assembly removed over here on the workbench. I bought some steel, and that is the strut rod assembly after we took it off the car and sandblasted it, so you can see just how crusty it is. It's pretty bad. The only salvageable part that I'm probably going to keep is this part right here, because it's got the dimple die hole, and I don't have a dimple dyer kit. And then on the inside, you can also see again just how bad and crusty the steel is. So I've gone ahead and made some templates. Essentially what this is here, these pieces are going to be for this inner structure, that added piece of steel there. So that's what holds the strut rod brace in place. So those nuts are going to get welded to the metal. And then this right here is essentially every part for this. So I mean, this is the bottom. I can quickly assemble this for you, show you what I've been doing. This side piece is going to go on the side. Now again, if I keep that piece that I mentioned, I'll butt weld all that in. It's going to go here, piece goes here. Oops, no way. And then this is the flange, which is that right there. So you can see majority of it's done. I still got to figure out this piece. I just got to understand what angle this is based off of the one that's on the car, because this is completely gone. So we went with 12 gauge steel. So this plate that you're seeing here is not my tabletop. This is actually the material that we're using. So I just laid it down so we can trace all our pieces, cut them out, and then start our assembly, or start welding all of the edges together, all the pieces together, and creating a new strut rod assembly. This is the bottom of the frame rail. So again, another patch panel, all labeled. Lots of pieces to make for the car, and lots of arts and craft, as I call it. So let's get back to work on this, start tracing it out in steel and cutting it out, and start figuring out what we got to do here. Got majority of the strut rod assembly tacked up, fitted. Took a little break because Vice Grip decided to take a little bite out of my hand, so yeah. Anyways, we're gonna get back to welding. I'll flip it around, show you what we got done so far. It's pretty much there, and we just got all final welding to do, and obviously drill in some holes. Probably should have did that before I tacked it up. Whatever. So here's the strut rod assembly. Kind of roughly put together in terms of tacks. These filler panels I wasn't perfectly happy about, just in terms of some of the gaps, but it'll make for some decent penetration at least. If I have an issue with the TIG welding, I'll MIG weld the odd spot, but as you can see,
pretty much identical. Still got to notch this panel here for these little odd indents, and again, they serve no purpose. So maybe I'll do it just to make it look factory. And then I still need to make this final filler piece. I was kind of waiting. I wanted to kind of fit this up on the car and figure out what this angle is going to be for this piece here. This basically mounts up to the radiator support, and this goes at the bottom of the radiator support. So I want to fit it up once the frame and all that other stuff is patched to make sure that we got that correct in terms of angles. But I mean, everything else is coming along pretty good. I think it's pretty damn good. It's almost spot on. I'm pretty happy with that, so I'm gonna start final welding this. Enjoy the time lapse. Alright, so we got some of the patchwork done on the Fairlane. So on this lower frame rail here, you'll notice that this right here was replaced, this piece right here was replaced, and along with this piece right here, basically up to this point, that's all brand new. So you can see the blending marks there. But we did all the factory style holes. Still got to do the lower portion of that frame, which is right here. And again, we did the factory holes. These two, I got to put nuts, large nuts on the back, and that's for the sway bar. This is the lower radiator support. Again, factory style holes. Whether they make any difference or not, probably not. And then this is the back side of the radiator support, which sits right along here. But while I was underneath the car looking at what I'm going to do next, I noticed inside the lower fender there was a ton of debris, and as you can see, it's got a little rust spot, which I'm leaving. I'm not doing anything about that. And what you see on the floor here, that is sitting all in that trough right there. So basically everything in here, this whole thing, was full to the top. So clean that up, just shoot it with paint so that it doesn't continue to rot. Maybe even hit it with the bed liner. And then get back to work on the rust repair.
It's coming along. It's slower than I wanted it to be, but I mean, whatever goes as planned. A job that you think's gonna take 40 minutes ends up taking 10 hours. So here we are, multiple days in, but we'll get her done. We'll get her done.
Alright, so we've officially started to add metal to the car. We got the 3 spot welds up in here. And then we got all the other spot welds going along this panel. Now I'm going to go ahead and start fitting up this bottom frame rail patch and close off all of this. Then we'll be able to put the strut rod brace on, which goes to the radiator support, and then the close off panel for the bottom of the radiator support. And this job will officially be done. Alright, we have it buttoned up for the last time. This is it. Going to start the welding process right about now. Alright guys, so we went from completely rusted steel to CAD design, cardboard aided design templates, to our final product, which is now on the car. Alright guys, it's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Old Car Channel. We got all the rust repair done in terms of the front end.
Fix the strut rod brace, radiator support, battery tray. Now we can go back and get to work on the brakes, which was supposed to be in this video, but obviously we hit a couple roadblocks. Now that those are clear, we can get back to work on the brakes, finish the suspension, and then start other things that I have planned for the car, which you'll see in future episodes. If you guys like what you saw in the video, please hit the like and subscribe button to support the channel, and I'll see you next week.